I'm Bleeding Critic. Welcome to Scary Stories UK. Horror medication. I've spent ages searching through all the streaming channels to find something horrifying to watch. The endless choice is repetitive and boring, nothing interests me. I jump on YouTube and find horror karaoke, just people who narrate other people's work. I just can't find my horror fix, my Class A horror medication that'll make me actually feel an emotion, something that will draw me into a disturbing vibe. Isn't it weird? There's so much content across all media and most of it is just moving wallpaper. After searching so long, I end up rewatching horror movies that I've enjoyed over the years. And although I love revisiting The Shining, Hellraiser and The Wicker Man, the original impact of those movies sadly dilute over time. Look, I've tried so hard to find other ways to entertain myself, but I can't find anything that gives me the thrill of terror and fear. So I gotta wake up to the truth. I've gotta make my own horror entertainment. So I made the choice to leave my safe space and get out into the world and experience real horror. I was sat in my car at a junction, and when the lights turned green, I didn't move. I wanted to wind up the people in the cars behind. I wanted to be a victim of road rage. Yeah, I got punched in the face, which I deserved, but that feeling of horror was missing. Being a victim wasn't cutting it for me. I had to be the author of horror. I was aware of a drug addict sex offender living in my community who was known to shout abuse at strangers and self-harming in public. And the police couldn't even arrest him because he only verbally threatened people, which is ridiculous. And social services wouldn't lock him up in a psychiatric unit because he never came close to actually killing himself. What's really disturbing is that he was in the process to have a transition. He wanted to become a woman so he can get closer to assault them. He is absolutely disgusting, a nasty piece of work. I saw him alone outside the pharmacy using a broken bottle, slashing up and down his arms. The blood splattering everywhere looked like a murder scene. "You're not cutting deep enough," I said. His mad, dead eyes glared at me. I poured gasoline over him and ignited. Burn, scum, burn. I watched and I smiled. His burning to death reminded me of the Wicker Man. Yeah, job done. Watching vermin terrified and dying provided me with the horror medication I needed. It was at that moment I realised watching horror on screen wasn't going to cut it for me anymore. I have a hatred of wife beaters. I kept on seeing this small git and I recognised him from years ago. Oh yeah, I remember. He used his fists regularly on a friend. Now it was his turn to face the consequences. I introduced the wooden end of my axe into his ugly face. Then I chopped both his hands off below the wrist. He'll never punch again. I felt like Jack Nicholson from The Shining. I watched him scream in agony. Another dose of horror medication I gave myself. More recently, I witnessed someone making a young member of staff cry in a food store. The older man shouted, refusing to wear a COVID mask, making this girl cry. I paid him a visit and hammered several steel nails into his skull. He looked like Pinhead from Hellraiser. And that was my third dose of do-it-yourself horror medication. Look, if there was plenty of quality horror content available, I wouldn't do what I've done. I had to fulfill a craving, an addiction to have an authentic horror experience, and I saw an opportunity to not only entertain myself but also target people who deserve it. And I know you're nodding your head right now in agreement. I'm also saving money every month because I've cancelled all streaming subscriptions. My concern is this. When I'm bored of being inspired by horror movies, what am I going to do to give myself a horror medication fix? If you can think of anything, leave your suggestions below.